everybody, how's it going? It's Jessie from Jessie Marie Does Stuff here on FlossTube, and I am coming to you on this Wednesday, February 6th, 2019, with my next update video. Y'all, this is like week 5 in a row. Who am I? I guess that this new year has really helped me get on track. It also helps that I am sick in between videos rather than like on Wednesday. But anyway, so here we are. If I'm a little sniffly, I'm sorry for that. I am recovering from a little cold thing. So I might be a little sniffly. There might be some cuts so that I can break for water, but yeah, nothing major, no big deal. So what do we have to talk about today? I have plans, real brief on plans, books that I have read, and then I'm also going to show you guys my TBR, my to-be read pile for the month of February. Guess what? No knits. Still no knits. Oh, and I have the shortest segment on haul in the history of foreverdom, at least compared to last week. Anyway, so yeah, not a whole lot. Probably not going to be a movie. This is what I get for filming once every week. So we'll I might have to reevaluate that because I know that some of y'all are missing the movies. I have heard several times, Jess, when's the next movie? I don't know. So I may reevaluate my filming schedule. I know that I mentioned briefly doing Stitch With Me's in alternating weeks, so we'll see if that comes to be. Right now, I'm really liking just filming consistently, so we'll see what happens. Okay, works in progress. Here we go. So I just have a few things, more than I expected, but nonetheless. So when I spoke to you last week, I was working on the Prairie Schooler alphabet, and I told you that I was going to work on that through the end of the month. So that's what I did. So this is booklet ABCs, my needle minder there from No Name Needle Minders. Upside down. There we go. So I was working on B is for Blackbird. I finished A is for Anchor last year. Crazy far behind. It's fine. Okay. This is on 40 count Newcastle linen in Platinum by Zweigart. And I got quite a bit done in a day and a half. I'm really kind of impressed. I didn't put in my first stitches that day until 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So this is kind of surprising, if I'm totally honest with myself. The pie, which I was really kind of worried about, is actually stitching up real easy. It's going really well. I have not hated that as much as I expected to. So there's just a hodgepodge of things going on here. Most of this is for various challenges that I was working on. I needed a certain number of stitches in these particular colors for things. So I needed 500 stitches for School of Magical Stitches and Literature for January extra credit, and I needed so many stitches in brown for Semi-Sane Stitchers District 2, all of the things I needed stitches for. So that's why my birds don't have beaks. That's why there are windows floating. That's why the pie is kind of completed over here, but not over here. That's why the vine isn't done. Just kind of all over the place. And that is 3371, by the way. Prairie Schooler, 3371. They have a relationship. Not sure why, but there it is. Is the coverage perfect? Nope, sure isn't. I'm not worried. It's got, I kind of like the sparse effect for a style like this. So I'm totally cool with that. Not a problem to me. So there is that. And I really wanted to keep going to finish the block because I'm in the mood to finish things, even if it's mini finishes, like I'm about it. but I did put it away because February 1st started a whole ton of things. But first and foremost, it started my new rotation. And so you guys know the first 5 days of each month I devote to in this moment. I'm going to show you that last. Okay, so we had another short week of homework to account for the first 3 days of February. So it ended on Sunday, just like the normal homeworks do with School of Magical Stitches. And this short homework, they found out that we were doing magic, and so outside of school grounds, and so we all got in trouble, and so we had to work on a project that we would put in whip prison, so to speak, and sort of explain why it went into whip prison. And so I pulled out the Fantasy Sal by Lakeside Needlecraft and Doreen Jones. It's ironic that I call this piece the Harry Potter sampler because I keep pulling it out for this. It's like Kate and Vicky are just pushing me to finish this thing, which is fine by me. I'll keep working on it. That's okay. So this is on 32 Count Belfast in Heroic by Picture This Plus. I also worked on this for the first task for this week's homework. So this is going to be the 300 stitches for last week's homework, or for the weekend's homework, I guess, and then 100 for this week's homework. So I have turned the corner here. I don't have the corner complete yet, and I also don't have this complete just yet, the hat. It still needs to be backstitched. There's some backstitch to sort of echo what's going on in this corner over here. This one is not backstitched because it's pretty obvious what it is. It's a lightning bolt. Another reason why this is the Harry Potter sampler. So yeah, made some progress on that. I actually completed that vignette because I had a heck of a time with this. I had to rip so many times because of counting errors. Okay, tell me this is not just me. So I realized I had a counting error, I ripped out the stitches, and then realized I was actually correct before I ripped them out. That happened twice in a span of 2 days. That was really annoying. So I was going to continue working on this for some of the other tasks for this week's homework, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to get that lightning bolt vignette done, and then I'm done. I am done. What else did I do this for? Oh, I think I did this for some of the extra credit for February too. No, I haven't yet. This is going to come back out later this month because I've got it for some extra credit for this month, because for Moaning Myrtle, we have to stitch on something that makes us moan or cry. So you guys have heard me moan on and on about this for the last 2 years. So here we go again. So anyway, it's totally cool that these challenges are getting me towards the finish line on this. I don't know what I'm going to do when I'm done with this, and I don't have anything else to fit Kate and Vicky's plans, but we'll see how it goes. So that is the Fantasy Cell. Okay, so we got this week's homework on Monday morning, and since Fantasy Cell was still on my frame, I just went ahead and took care of that first thing. And then I was supposed to get back to In This Moment. I had taken it off the frame just so that I could work on Fantasy Cell, get my homework done in the last few minutes before midnight. So I was supposed to get back to In This Moment. However, District 2 with semi-sane stitchers for the Stitcher games, I still had to satisfy my gray stitches. And I had 650 gray stitches that I needed to get done on Monday. So I pulled out the project that I had chosen to do that I had chosen for that, and ended up stitching on it all day. No. So Monday worked out to be quite a heavy stitchy day. It wasn't supposed to be, but extenuating circumstances, I ended up stitching all day. I couldn't do my house tasks on Monday. I won't go into it. It's fine. It's all good. So anyway, so the project that I chose for my gray stitches and then ended up being able to fit into the other 6 ingredients for Polyjuice Potion, which is the basis for our homework this week. I was able to make this fit for everything else. And so I finished my homework on Monday. So this is Halloween at Hawk Run Hollow by Carriage House Samplings. I absolutely adore this project, and it fit for absolutely everything that I needed it to. We needed grass, needed something with skin. There's an awful lot of human-like characters as well as other creatures that have skin, and a few that don't anymore. Let's see, what else did I need? A nighttime scene. This one was a nighttime scene. That is a moon. I know he's yellow, but it's a moon. And he's a Judgy McJudgy face moon. We needed something we were enabled to stitch. I was definitely enabled by this one from several of you got me into this. This is a needle minder, by the way. It's one of my absolute favorites. But he's a little freaky to some people. Anyway, so I use this for all of that. The reason that I chose this over elephants is I'm really digging the 40 count. That one strand stitching, I don't know what it is, but it's working out real nice for me these days. So, in order to satisfy all of those tasks and get them all done, I finished the block. Now, did I have a ton left to do? No, I didn't have a ton left to do. I had the bottom tombstones to do and the brown grasses there. Finish out the box. Spider webs. The spider webs are kind of loosey-goosey because what I did is spider webs, y'all. Oh my good grief. They were not easy to do. They were not easy to do at all. So what I did is the circular ones, I kind of guesstimated where those sort of started and ended. And then the long diagonal ones are long stitch. You may not be able to see it, but they're pretty loose. And they can almost lift up off the fabric. Anyway, those spider webs were a pain in the butt. You can kind of see it warping over here. Anyway, so they're done, and when this is finished in 45 years, and it's stretched and framed, those spider webs will be just fine. I'm not worried about them. So I finished the block, and I was so excited. I absolutely love this. Fabric here is 40 count Newcastle linen in Country Mocha by Zweigart. It's not vintage. For whatever reason, they don't call it that. And I love this so much. I know that a ton of people have finished the first block in the 2 years since it was released, fall 2017. I know that. I don't care. I'm obsessed. I really love it. And I cannot wait to carry on with this. So my original goal for this for the year was 3 blocks. I've amended that because this block took me 13 stitching days, including one where I did a ton. I did so much stitching on Monday. It's kind of absurd. Anyway, so what I have decided to do is that instead of finishing 3 blocks, what I'm going to do is 2 blocks. So this one here that I finished, then I'm going to stitch another and then start a third. And if that means just 1 stitch going into that third block, so be it. That's fine. If this block took me 13 days, there's no way that I can commit another basically a month's worth of stitching to this project that is kind of a background project for me, if I'm honest with myself, this year. I can't devote that much time to it. And that sort of made me have a look at the rest of my goals for the year. I know that we're in early February, and so I shouldn't be panicking about the rate of speed that the year is going, but I think I set my goals too high, and so I've reduced some of them. Some of them went down to 5 days, some of them went down to smaller goals, smaller page goals than they were, etc., etc. I just don't think that I can do everything that I had set out to do. 36 projects is so much nicer than 76, but it is not. It's still too much for one person for 1 year when I'm not supposed to be stitching as much as I did last year. So that is that. So I just reduced the goal down just a little bit, and I cannot wait to get back to that. I am contemplating doing some dark 13 stitching because my rotation, the way that it's spelled out, it doesn't really fit. It doesn't really lend itself to dark 13 stitching or stitching on the 31st, some Halloween stuff. Kind of really want to do that so that I can work on that more often because I love it. So much fun. Tuesday, it was time to finally get back to in this moment. I ended up taking the day off. On Monday, I just didn't work on in this moment. So I got back to it on Tuesday. So this is in this moment, artwork by Jeremiah Kettner, charted by Heaven and Earth Designs, of course. And my rotation on this was supposed to end on Tuesday. So this is on 25 count Lugana in Korean by Zweigart. I have been working on page 10 this month, and we're getting hair. Loving it. This, once I finally got into the hair, this goes pretty quick. There's probably 9 to 10 colors in her hair, and it just goes real smooth. It goes real nice and quick. So this row of blocks here, that diagonal of blocks about there, was the hardest. They're what I called transitional blocks, because I was in background and then I was in hair, and so I was removing threads and adding threads almost constantly. I wish you guys could have seen the absurd mess that I had of threads that I had to clean up after doing those blocks. That was pretty intense. So I had to get past that diagonal before I did anything else. And so I can't remember how many stitches I've done on this month. More than I had expected, if I'm honest, but nonetheless. I'm loving it. Her hair is so much fun to stitch. Every time I finish a block, it just adds a new layer to it, so you can see now this curl that's kind of flipping around here. And then you can see one underneath that probably connects to this one back here. Oh gosh, it's so much fun. And these colors, so happy to me. These are happy, happy colors. So I'm having a blast working on this. Okay, so I told you guys that I was going to probably give this piece another 2 days at the end of my Paladin rotation to get my goals accomplished for the By the Numbers challenges. And I've changed that up a little bit. Instead, what I am doing is starting today, every other day, I am working on this just a little bit. It's going to go on my Q-snap after today. So I'm just going to do a little bit. What I've decided to do, and Sammy J kind of gave me this idea, I'm going to do 2 blocks and then just the parked threads in the 3rd block, regardless of how many stitches are in each of those blocks. So off to this left side here, there are only 30 stitches in each block on that far left. And on the far right, there are only 40 stitches in each of those blocks. So regardless of what that situation is, I'm going to do 2 blocks, and then the parked threads in the third. So today I had these 3 right here to do. So these 2, and then just the parked threads in this one. Guess what, y'all? The parked threads in this one completed the block. That was crazy to me. But that's just the way it worked out. I was able to finish the block. So there's that. I'm only going to do this every other day because my focus is still my main projects, but I would like to get this goal accomplished. I think I still have another 700 stitches to get done or something by the number is 1200. So it's really important to me that I just keep going on it. On top of the fact, Danny brought up a really great point. He said, okay, so you're trying to get 7 pages done this year. If you get a page done every odd month, that's only 6 pages. And he's right. And it seems to be that with the way that this year started, the odd months were going to be the only months where I got page finishes, and that's just not gonna fly. So I am taking this month to go further. I'm gonna go further and see if I can't get a jump, just a head start, because this is a primary WIP for the year. It's important enough to me to reach this goal that I'm gonna make some time for it. And so my early morning stitch on those every other days, I guess they'll be the even days through February, I'll spend my early morning stitching on this and see what I can get done this month. If I only get 250 stitches, I don't think that I'm going to get the page done this month, but I'm going to get awful close. It'll be a real easy March finish. So there's that. And this might not last. I might get bogged down by working on too many things. Magical stitches always complicates things. This week I'm really optimistic about it because my homework is done. And my extra credit is with relation. I was able to play it so that my extra credit fits the projects that I'm scheduled to work on. So yeah, we'll kind of wait and see how the subsequent weeks affect this plan. But that's the plan currently. Okay, so officially in plans, today starts my Stargazer rotation, and so once this is done, edited, and uploaded, then I'm going to get going on Stargazer. I have Stargazer through Sunday. I haven't worked on her yet, and so I didn't bring her because you saw her last week. So I'll show you that next time after my rotation, I suppose. Monday starts my first WIP Go Focus week for February, and this month I'm working on Jingles by Lizzie Kate. So I did bring that since I'm going to start working on this on Monday. And this works for the extra credit, something with words. So that's pretty cool. And so that's what the entire series will look like finished. And I'll show you where I'm starting from. This is on 28 count linen from Witchelt in Amber, I think. And so that's where I'm starting from. This is using most of the called for threads. They're all Weeks Dye Works. There's one exception in there, but for the most part, it's the called for. So that's where I'm starting from. And so what I would really like to do is finish this block. This is the Noel block. And so that's got the peppermint candies on the top and bottom, which are a giant pain in the butt, but I've got to get them done. And then I have Noel and the stocking to do for this block. And then it looks like some borders. And that's it for that block. Then the cheer block, it's got the heart around it as well as the rest of these little guys on the top. So I'll have to finish those and the heart around it. And then the cheer block. And this looks like it would be a pretty quick block. So I'm optimistic that I can get this done and then get started on the next. Wait till December 25. I'm really optimistic that I can do that in 5 days. It's going to be a little different this month because I'm doing I'm working on 2 things in a day, essentially, for the majority of this rotation. But I think that I could get this black done, and at least started on this one. So we'll see how it goes. I struggle working on this because it's a witch out linen, and so it's very crunchy. But nonetheless, we'll give it a shot. So that will be that, and then we'll see what homework is like for next week. And hopefully I can get some extra credit and some ultimate stitching challenge stuff done. By the way, if you are participating in School of Magical Stitches and you're trying to accomplish the ultimate stitching challenge, you need to do about 2 of those a month to stay on track. So just sort of to give you an idea of the timeline in order to be able to get the goal accomplished by the end of the year, that's what you need. Let's go ahead and switch over to haul. This is going to be so fast. And what I mean by so fast is that all I have are needle minders. So I ordered these. Somebody posted these on the School of Magical Stitches group, and I ordered them immediately. Impulse buy, I'll admit it. It's fine. So these are from snarkycrafterdesigns.com. And these are fabulous enamel needle minders. So this one says School of Wizardry and Stitchcraft. I really wish that it said School of Stitchery and Witchcraft, because no wizard here. Just saying. But it's the Hogwarts crest, and the sigils have been replaced with stitching related things: scissors, bobbins, needle and thread, and buttons. So that's cute. And then this one is with relation to the Marauders map, and it says, I solemnly swear a lot. As opposed to, I solemnly swear I'm up to no good. Anyway, so my camera won't focus. So there's those. That's all I have for haul. That's it. Oh, she did send a thank you needle threader that I'll probably stick in somebody's giveaway package in the future because I don't use needle threaders. I do have something else that's on the way. I hope. My threads of the month from Color and Cotton. They left at the end of January and haven't been seen since January 29th. I've had in transit to next location show up on my tracking for about a week now. I'm going to give it a couple more days. Maybe it'll show up. Maybe somebody will find it. I'm certain that the crazy Midwest weather and the shutdown of the Postal Service out there probably had an effect. So I'm going to wait a couple more days and then contact Angela if nothing shows up by Saturday. Because I would really like my threads. I got a peek at the sort of limited edition set, the classic set on Stitch and Mommy's video this week, and yeah, I would really like those. So I will we'll sort of see how that shakes out. But that's it for haul. That's it. So let's switch over to our final topic for the day, and we are going to talk books. Okay, so the first thing that I have as far as books is concerned is the one book that I finished since we last spoke. And that is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, a pseudo reread. I've never read this edition before until most recently, and this is the illustrated edition, the illustrations by Jim Kay. Kim Hollenbeck, Spartan Stitcher on Instagram, she brought up a really great point. Heaven and Earth Design needs to get a contract with Jim Kay, because I would stitch this whole book. I would stitch all of it. I would cancel new starts, no new starts, and no Heaven and Earth Design starts, and I would start them all. It would be the end of me as far as Stitch from Stash, even more so than I'm already, if that ever came to fruition. I think that my no new starts and my Stitch from Stash is safe at this point, because I don't think it's happening. Anyway, so this was beautiful, and it's like Joe said, Hogwarts will always be there to welcome you home. So that was great, and I got teary-eyed in all of the wrong places. Yeah, it was just really good. It was really good. So appreciate wholeheartedly School of Magical Stitches for really pushing me to get into rereading these. I always like to reread them, but this is like grand motivation to do so. So anyway, finished that on the 31st. Like I told you guys, I had about 80 pages to read, and what can I say? It's Harry Potter, so 80 pages was like nothing. Okay, so the next book that I am currently reading, I guess we'll kind of sort of make the transition into TBR. We received our February extra credit for reading, and one of the tasks is to read a book by an author whose initials are TR for Tom Riddle or LV for Lord Voldemort. And then somebody asked if it would be okay if we read the reverse of those, so RT or VL. I think that was Ann P. So Ann, thank you, because I was having a hell of a time. So the book that I chose is RT. It's by an author whose initials are RT. I'm going to insert a preview here. I've got the Kindle edition is what I'm reading. I have an ARC edition that I picked up at Book Expo America a few years ago, but it's way up there, and it was published coming up on 5 years ago. So an ARC edition, nah, it's fine. I'll just read the Kindle edition. However, it went through a cover redesign, and I hate the new cover. I hate it. So I'm going to insert the cover of the book as it used to be. And this is Lies We Tell Ourselves by Robin Talley. This was purely by happenstance that I decided to pick up this one. I had originally picked a book by Taylor Jenkins Reid. She's sort of made the rounds on a lot of my bookish friends from back in the day have read her stuff and really liked it. But I just wasn't feeling chick lit fiction. I just wasn't in the mood for it. This book. So I started reading it on the 1st. And I'm going to run through real briefly what this is about. This is a fictional retelling of the first integrated school in the state of Virginia. So, real quick history recap for you. Brown v. Board of Education. The decision comes down. Yep, time to integrate the schools. High time. Our black students and our white students should be receiving the same quality of education. And so, time to integrate. Fast forward 5 years. 5 years. 1959. The first school in Virginia was finally integrated. The governor of the state of Virginia fought it to the point where the school year 1958 into 1959, he shut down white schools in the state of Virginia. Shut them down to prevent integration from happening. NAACP got involved, and eventually the integration was forced. It was pushed on, and the governor, his hands were tied and he could not intervene. So February 2nd, 1959, the first black students walked into a white school. And I mean, I am not so naive to not appreciate how difficult that must have been, but reading a fictional recount of that has, like, it's broken my heart. And like, I can't fathom people talking to each other the way that these children were talking to each other. I can't fathom adults acting like this, and I know that it is that it is how it was. And so I just can't even imagine how hard it was to write this, and to live it. I mean, to live it, so this is a really emotional read, as you may be able to tell. It's hard. It's super difficult to read. It's a part of American history that I wish never was. I wish it never was. I wish that people are people are people are people are people. End of discussion. My makeup is all jacked up. It's fine. So it's really hard to read. So that's really the crux of it's not supposed to be the theme. It's supposed to be the setting of this story. So we're following two characters, alternating, and it's lies we tell ourselves. And so the first few chapters are Sarah Dunbar, who is one of the Black students that joins Jefferson High School. This is, it's a fictional recount, so it wasn't Jefferson High School, it was Norfolk, a school in Norfolk that was integrated. That was the first. So this is a fictional recount. It takes place in a fictional place in Virginia. And Sarah Dunbar, as far as I know, is not an actual name of one of the students. Okay, so the first few chapters follow Sarah and their very first day going into the school. And I'm going to think about that for the rest of my life. I'm going to try not to get choked up anymore. Okay, so remembering bits and pieces of it. This is really important reading. Like, this needs to be required reading for probably high school age, because it just needs to be. It's just really important. Okay, and I'm only 100 pages in. The other character that we're following, she's a white girl, Linda Hairston. And Linda is the daughter of I believe he's the editor-in-chief, and I believe he writes for a major news publication for the area. And he's a segregationist, which I didn't even really know was a word. But he's somebody who believes so fervently in segregation. And so we're following Linda, who is his daughter. Okay. So as if being Black, integrating into a white school where everybody from the students up to the principal hates you, Sarah is also a lesbian. And she hasn't, it's a coming of age story. So it's not like she's like out and proud, and in the 50s. So like, this girl has it stacked against her. It does not advertise this, that this is an LGBT book. It doesn't advertise it in the synopsis. And it's not this big shocking thing that you find out 200 pages in. It's like first 15 pages, in dealing with everything that is coming at Sarah, you learn about this, about her sexual preferences, about her curiosities, and so I don't understand why it's kept a secret. I mean, I understand why, because representation, I guess that advertising that it's a gay book is against it, like it diminishes sales for publications. That needs to end yesterday. But nonetheless, I'll get off that soapbox. So this is like a really, really emotionally intense and involved novel. I think that it's supposed to be setting, and the rest of it is supposed to be coming of age story, but man, is the setting getting to me. The other thing is that Robin is trying to insert some redeeming qualities for Linda, and I don't care. I don't like her. I understand that I'm supposed to start liking her and that she's supposed to be presented as better than herself, but I don't like her. I don't like her. Except for one person, except for Mr. Lewis, I don't like a single white person in this book. Whew! So, this is really intense reading. And this is so much better to me than Chick Lit. It's so much better for me. So, that is that. And it's in my Kindle. Okay. So I'm reading that and in bits and pieces when I can stomach it. But I am going to keep going because, like I said, I think it's important reading. So there's that. Okay, we're going to have a major departure here. The rest of these books are basically fantasy and sci-fi. Yep. Okay, so all of these books were chosen because of the extra credit for February for School of Magical Stitches and Literature. So let's just run through these real quick. The first one I have here is Michael J. Sullivan. This is a bind-up. So the bind-up is called Theft of Swords. Oh, Theft of Swords. Theft of Swords. This is the Ryeria Revelations bind-up of books 1 and 2 of the series. So the series is the Ryeria Revelations. Book 1 is called The Crown Conspiracy. Book 2 is called Avaratha. Avanpartha. Excuse me. So book 2 is called Avanpartha. So about 300 pages in is when book 2 starts. Yeah. So there's book 2. Okay. So I'm just reading book 1 this month. I'm not going to tackle this whole 600-page book. I have 2 other 600-page books this month. There's no way. So I'm just going to try to read the first book. One of our tasks for extra credit this month is something with an elf, and I'm not entirely sure if and when the elf characters are going to show up in this. However, Ryeria is an elvish word, so, and there's elvish translations and whatnot in the beginning of the book. There's maps, as any good fantasy has, and then politics and the gods. So like just some world building going on. This I have heard such good things about, and it's older. It's like 2015 maybe? 2015, 2014? 2011. And actually, The Crown Conspiracy was written in 2007. Avanpartha was written in 2009. And then this bind-up. These bind-ups were done. So there are 6 books in this part of the series. There's also the Ryeria Chronicles, which is an add-on series. And so these are the first 6 books in their 3 separate bind-ups. Anyway, so I'm going to start with this one. And I'm kind of excited about it. I have always wanted to read this. I've had this on my shelves for a while. And I love a good floppy fantasy book. Excited about that. Okay. Up next is a book that I've already started. And this is the one that I mentioned several weeks ago in Epic Fantasy that I was reading at the time. Then I put it down, and now I'm picking it back up because one of our tasks is to read a book about a character that you think would be sorted into your house. I'm a Gryffindor, and so I needed a Gryffindor. I needed somebody who was brave, courageous, etc., etc. So this is The Furies of Calderon, or Furies, not the, by Jim Butcher. Jim Butcher is well known for his Dresden Files, which is an urban fantasy following a detective, Harry Dresden, with fantastical creatures in the world. It's hilarious, it's funny, and it's narrated by, I can't remember his name, I'll put it down below. Really funny. This is different. This is very different. Annette from Annette's Acre told me that apparently the Codex Alera comes from a dare. Jim Butcher was dared to write a book about Pokemon mixed with the Romans, I believe. This was a few weeks back that we talked about it, but that's fascinating to me. So this world is everybody, with one major exception. Everybody has the ability to sort of create these, they work with the elements, and the elements, so let's say you're a water crafter. Your Fury is a water demon, Pokemon kind of a thing. And it does your bidding in various ways. So water constricts, water gives life. Water does a lot of things. It's not just like the actual thing. Wind can take the air out of your lungs. So it just kind of depends. And each person kind of has their own specific relationship with each of the elements. So one of the characters we follow, and I can't remember her name, she's a water crafter. Her water crafter is Rill, or her Fury is Rill. And Rill kind of does her bidding. I'm only 150 pages in, so I'm really trying to get used to the world here. The one major exception is the character that I'm using for this task, and his name is Tavi. Tavi does not have, he can't get his Fury crafting. He doesn't have a Fury. He doesn't have the ability to work with the elements in this world, and it's totally unheard of. He doesn't have their help. And he becomes an integral part in the way that the world is working. And he's just a kid. He doesn't, I don't remember, but I don't think he has parents. He's a lot like Harry in a lot of ways. So he's famous, but maybe for not a reason that he wants to be. He doesn't have parents. He's not being raised like Harry, but he's, I don't know. His life is complicated, and he's had some really courageous moments. So I'm going to read this, or continue reading it, I suppose. I got the audiobook, so I think that I'm going to hit this one on audio, because this is mass market paperback, and I don't like mass market paperback. Yep, I'm a book snob. Okay, so there's that. Okay, the next book comes with a disclaimer. If you are at all sensitive, don't read this book. I understand that by saying that, some of you are going to want to go out and get it. This is dark fantasy, and the lead in this book is an anti-hero of extraordinary proportions. The book starts off with a rape. So, and that's the start of the book. And this is not a big book. So in order for you to hate this character at the start, you get thrown a lot. This is just what I've heard. Dark fantasy does not affect me. You can tell I'm affected by books. Dark fantasy, for whatever reason, doesn't affect me. Game of Thrones is dark fantasy. And if you've read the books, you understand that it's dark. There are some pretty horrific things that happen that doesn't really make the translation to the show. So just know that going into it. If you are at all sensitive to violence, violence against women, blood, guts, and gore, like, don't read this. Don't read this. Don't do it. Just find something else. There are other things that you can read. You don't need this in your life. But I've been curious, and dark fantasy doesn't get to me. I think it's because it's fantasy. So this is Prince of Thorns by Mark Lawrence. And it's what I just told you. I'm not entirely sure the premise of the book itself, but other than our lead character is 15 years old and he's trying to be king. 15. But again, it's fantasy, so I will keep it brief when I'm talking about this book. Okay, so the next book that I have is another 600-page book, but this is going to be crazy fast read. This is Gemina. We had to read a character that's a snake. Pretty sure this guy qualifies as a snake based on that description I just gave you. Okay. So this is Gemina. This is the Illuminae Files, Book 2. Authors there, Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. This is, the reason that I picked this is we needed to read a book with diary that was written in diary format. And I asked if it would be okay if we read different epistolaries, so a book that was like this in conversations. So there are conversations, there are text messages, there are emails, there are dossiers. So this is kind of an experiential book. It's not a traditional read it straight through kind of a book. It's kind of different than that. Let me show you what I mean. So on this side we have a conversation. It looks like an email conversation or maybe a speaker and headphones conversation that was transcribed. And then on this side is the computer talking. So there's a lot going on in these books. This is I don't know how to talk about this series. This is book 2. Book 1 is called Illuminae. Illuminae. And right there. It is science fiction fantasy with zombies. Yes. So yeah, definitely check this out if that at all piques your interest. It's a lot of fun. It's young adult, or maybe new adult. It's fun and it's intense and it's such an experience reading a book that's like this. I didn't think I was going to like it, and I absolutely loved Illuminae. So check this out. Get it in physical format if you can, because the audio is not the same. The audio is great because it is a performance kind of a thing, but the physical format is so much better. And then I have Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, also the illustrated edition by Jim Kay. I'm so excited for this. I cannot wait. Are you kidding me right now? How gorgeous is this? Oh, I absolutely love these. A lot of the pages I just stop and stare at them. Yeah, this is a lot of fun. So I will be reading this, and I think I'm going to start this probably maybe tomorrow. And then, if I have time, after I read all of this, my mother-in-law lent me her copy of Kate Morton's The Clockmaker's Daughter, and I'm curious about this, so I'm going to check it out. Kate Morton is the one who wrote Secret Garden, so I'm curious. So there is that. Okay, this turned out to be longer than I expected, but that's how it goes. I guess when I get off on a tangent about a book for 20 minutes. Anyway, so that is all that I have for you today. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your continued support of me and my channel. Everybody, take care. I hope that you're well. I hope you're stitching. And as always, be kind.